The view screen showed something that should not exist. Taesung had seen many wonders since humanity joined the Concordance. Space stations the size of moons, planets wrapped in artificial rings, ships that bent reality itself to cross impossible distances. But this was different. This was beyond anything he'd imagined. The structure orbited a dying red giant star, so vast that it took several minutes for the sensors to map its full size. It was not a ship or a station. It was something else entirely. Crystalline towers spiraled outward in patterns that hurt to look at. Spheres of what appeared to be frozen light connected by bridges made of something the sensors could not identify. The entire thing pulsed with a faint rhythm like a heartbeat that had grown weak. Mother of... Jaewon whispered. How big is that thing? Hana checked her readings. Approximately 12,000 kilometers in diameter. It is larger than Earth. And it is artificial, Minji added. Every part of it. This is not a natural formation. Pilot Bora, who had been quiet during most of the journey, leaned forward in her seat. Commander, I am reading massive power fluctuations throughout the structure. It is unstable. Can we approach safely? I think so. But carefully. Very carefully. Belthar had been standing at the back of the bridge. Now the alien moved forward, its multiple eyes fixed on the screen. A preservation arc? I have heard of such things but never seen one. They were built by civilizations that knew they were dying. A last desperate attempt to survive. Survive how? Taesung asked. By uploading themselves, transferring their consciousness into digital storage, abandoning their physical bodies to exist as pure information, hoping someone would find them and give them new bodies someday. Ensign Hyunwoo, the youngest member of the bridge crew, spoke up. So that signal, it is coming from uploaded minds? People who are still alive inside that structure? If the power systems have not failed, Velthar said. If the data has not corrupted, if anything remains at all after 3,000 years, there is only one way to find out, Taesung said. Bora, take us in. Slowly. The horizon's edge moved toward the massive structure. As they got closer, the signal grew stronger. The emotions it carried became almost overwhelming. Desperation, fear, hope fading but not yet gone. Commander, Hana said, I am receiving a direct transmission. It is. They know we are here. They are trying to communicate. Put it on speakers. What emerged was not words at first. It was sound that carried emotion so raw it made everyone on the bridge flinch. Then slowly words began to form. They were in a language none of them knew. But the translator AI worked frantically to interpret. Someone, is that someone, please, 3,000 years. We have been calling. Please do not leave. Please do not be another dream. We have had so many dreams. Please be real. Taesung felt tears on his face. He was not ashamed. Looking around, he saw others crying too. This is Commander Taesung of the human vessel Horizon's Edge. We hear you. We are real. We came to answer your call. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The signal surged with emotion so intense that the ship's systems momentarily flickered. You came. Someone came after so long. The others. Why did the others not come? We called and called. Thousands of ships passed. Thousands of species heard us. But no one stopped. No one answered. Why did you answer? Because we are human, Taesung said simply. And humans answer when someone calls for help. There was a pause. Then, human. We do not know this species. You are not in our records. When did you achieve space travel? About 300 years ago. So young. You are so young and yet you came. The old species heard us and ignored us. But the young species came. There is poetry in that. Terrible, beautiful poetry. Daehyun had been running security scans. Now he looked up, face pale. Commander, the power systems in that structure are failing. The Ark is running on backup power, and those systems are nearly depleted. How long do they have? Weeks, maybe months. Not long. Velthar made a sound of distress. It took courage to answer the call, Commander. But you cannot save them. Even with your ship's computers, you could not store even a fraction of the consciousness data in that Ark. And if you tried to transfer them, the power drain would likely accelerate the failure. They are too far gone. No, Hyunwoo said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at the young ensign. His face was determined. We did not come all this way just to watch them die. Ensign, Velthar said, sometimes compassion means bearing witness to tragedy, not preventing it. Sometimes being kind means staying with someone as they die, not pretending you can save them. But we can try. Hyunwoo insisted. That is what makes us human. We try even when it is impossible. Taesung looked at the massive arc on the screen. He thought about the minds inside, the people who had waited 3,000 years for someone to answer. He thought about the concordance, 847 species who had all heard and all ignored. Hana, can we communicate directly with them? I think so. The AI has adapted to their language patterns. Do it. I want to speak with whoever is in charge there. The signal changed. A single voice emerged, clearer than before. My name translates poorly. You may call me Thought of Dawn. I was a poet before. I have been maintaining the signal for 800 years. The others. Most have given up hope. I kept calling. I promised I would keep calling. And you came. Thought of Dawn, Taesung said. We want to help you, all of you. But we need to understand what we are dealing with. How many minds are stored in the Ark? We at the beginning. 11 billion now. Hard to say. Systems failing. Some minds corrupted beyond recovery. Maybe 7 billion remain. Maybe less. 7 billion. The number made Taesung dizzy. 7 billion people trapped in a failing computer. Slowly degrading, slowly dying for the second time. Why did you upload yourselves? Minji asked gently. Our star was dying. We had centuries of warning. We tried to evacuate, but we were not a spacefaring people. We had one generation ship. It could carry 10,000. How do you choose 10,000 from 11 billion? We could not. So we built the Ark. We would upload ourselves, preserve our consciousness, send out the signal, and wait for someone to rescue us. It seemed wise at the time. It was wise, Hana said. You survived. You are still here. Are we really still alive? Or are we just echoes pretending to be alive? After 3,000 years of isolation, after watching our world die on the sensors, after calling into the void with no answer, are we still the people we were? Silence filled the bridge. You are alive, Hyunwoo said firmly. If you can ask that question, you are alive. And we are going to help you. How? You are one small ship. We are billions. Your computers cannot hold us. Your power systems cannot sustain us. How can you help? Taesung stood. He felt something solidify in his mind. A decision, a commitment. We are going to call for more ships. Humanity is going to come. We are going to transfer as many of you as we can. And we are going to give you new bodies, new lives. We are going to save you. Velthar turned to face him. Commander, do you understand what you are promising? The resources required would be immense. The technology to create bodies for digital consciousness barely exists. You might save a fraction of them. Most will still die. Then we save who we can, Taesung said. That is better than saving no one. You would do this. For strangers. For people you have never met. For a civilization that died before yours was born. Why? Taesung thought about that question. He thought about all the answers he could give. Duty, compassion, the belief that all conscious life had value. But in the end, he gave the simplest answer. Because you called and we heard you, and we could not live with ourselves if we just left you here to die. Thought of Dawn was quiet for a long moment. When the voice returned, it carried something it had not held before. Hope. Then we will wait. We have waited 3,000 years. We can wait a little longer. But please hurry. We are so tired of calling into the dark. We will hurry, Taesung promised. Hana, send a message to Earth, Priority Alpha. Tell them everything. Tell them we need every resource humanity can spare. Tell them people are dying and we need help now. Yes, sir. Taesung looked at his crew, at their determined faces, at Velthar, who watched them with alien eyes that might have held admiration. Every species that heard them said it was impossible to help. Every species said it was too dangerous, too costly, too late. Every species turned away, he smiled. Good thing we are human then. We specialize in impossible. Commander Taesung stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, staring at the display screen with growing confusion. The signal had been playing for the past hour, and every time he heard it, something inside his chest tightened. It was not just sound or data. It felt like sadness, like someone crying in a dark room with no one to hear them. Play it again, he said to Dr. Hana, who sat at the communications station. Hana pressed a button. The signal filled the bridge once more. Mathematical patterns wove through frequencies that seemed to pulse with emotion. Taesung felt his throat go tight. He looked around at his crew. Every human face showed the same thing: concern, sadness, the need to help. "Sir, we have received a message from the Concordance," said Lieutenant Dae-hyun from the security station. "Ambassador Kyung-min is calling." The screen changed. Ambassador Kyung-min appeared, her face serious. Behind her stood Velthar, the insectoid overseer from the Concordance. Velthar's multiple eyes reflected light in ways that always made Tae-sung uncomfortable. "Commander," Kyung-min said, "I understand you have detected the signal from Sector 771 Omega." "Yes, Ambassador. We picked it up 3 days ago. It seems to be a distress call. Someone needs help." Velthar's mandibles clicked together in what the translator called a sigh. "Humans, always so quick to respond." "Commander, that signal has been broadcasting for over 3,000 galactic standard years. Every species in the Concordance has heard it. Every species has chosen to ignore it." Tae-sung frowned. "Why? If someone is in trouble, the signal is forbidden," Velthar interrupted. "It speaks of things better left unanswered. All civilized species know this instinctively. When we first hear it, something in our minds tells us to turn away. It is dangerous. But humans do not feel that way," Hana said quietly. "We hear it and we want to investigate. We want to help." Velthar's eyes fixed on her. "That is because your species is young. You evolved on one world alone, without contact with the greater galaxy. You did not develop the proper mental defenses. You hear things you should not hear. You feel things you should not feel." Tae-sung felt anger rising in his chest. "You are saying we should ignore someone calling for help?" "I am saying," Velthar said slowly, "that there are good reasons the signal has been ignored for 3 millennia. 847 species have heard it. 847 species have turned away. Only humans seem unable to do so." Ambassador Kyung-min looked uncomfortable. "Commander, the Concordance has made it clear. If humanity attempts to investigate this signal, there will be consequences. Trade sanctions, restricted travel, possible expulsion from the Concordance." Tae-sung looked at his crew. Hana's face showed determination. Dae-hyun looked worried but ready. Engineer Jae-won, standing near the engine readouts, gave a small nod. "Let me understand this correctly," Tae-sung said. "Someone has been calling for help for 3,000 years. Everyone heard them. Everyone ignored them. And if we try to help, we will be punished?" "Correct," Velthar said. "For your own safety, Commander, and for the stability of the Concordance." Tae-sung felt something settle in his mind. It was not a difficult decision. It was perhaps the easiest decision he had ever made. "Then I suppose we will be punished," he said. Kyung-min closed her eyes. "Commander, think about what you are doing. Humanity has only been part of the Concordance for 50 years. We are still new. We cannot afford to make enemies. Ambassador, with respect, I did not join Starfleet to ignore people in distress. None of us did." Velthar made a sound like stones grinding together. "You will regret this, human. The signal calls to you because you are vulnerable. Your empathy is not a strength. It is a weakness that will destroy you." "Maybe," Tae-sung said, "but we are going anyway." The transmission ended. The bridge was silent for a moment. "Well," Jae-won said from the engine station, "I guess we are criminals now." "Not criminals," Hana said. "Just humans." Tae-sung sat in his command chair. He brought up the navigation system. "Set course for Sector 771 Omega, maximum speed." "Sir," Dae-hyun said, "we will be leaving Concordance-protected space. We will be on our own." "I know. The Concordance might send ships to stop us." "I know. We have no idea what we will find there." "I know that too, Lieutenant." Tae-sung looked around at his crew. "Anyone who wants to leave can take a shuttle to the nearest station. I will not order you to follow me into this. It needs to be your choice." Nobody moved. "Stupid humans," Jae-won muttered with a small smile. "All of us." Dr. Minji, the ship's psychologist, had been quiet during the entire exchange. Now she spoke up. "Commander, I have been studying the signal's effects on the crew. Everyone who hears it reports the same feelings: sadness, urgency, the need to help. It is unlike anything I have seen." "Is it dangerous?" Tae-sung asked. "I do not know, but it is definitely affecting us. Whatever is broadcasting the signal, it reaches something deep in the human mind, something other species apparently do not have or have learned to shut off. Can you tell what it is saying?" Hana turned in her chair. "I have been working on that, Commander. It is incredibly complex. There are layers upon layers of information, mathematical sequences, emotional frequencies, and what appears to be linguistic patterns from a language that does not match anything in the concordance database. Keep working on it. I want to know what we are flying into. Yes, sir. The ship hummed as it changed course. Taesung watched the stars shift on the view screen. They were leaving safety behind. They were defying the most powerful coalition in the known galaxy. They were flying towards something that had frightened away 847 different species. And yet, Taesung felt certain they were doing the right thing. How long until we reach the sector? He asked. At maximum speed, 18 days. Jae-won replied. Then we have 18 days to figure out what we are walking into. Taesung stood and walked to the view screen. The signal played softly in the background, that same haunting combination of mathematics and sorrow. He wondered who was broadcasting it. He wondered why they had called for so long with no answer. He wondered if humans were brave or simply foolish. Perhaps both, he thought. Commander, Hana said softly. Why do you think we are the only ones who want to answer? Taesung thought about that question for a long moment. Maybe because we remember what it is like to be alone. Humanity spent thousands of years on Earth thinking we were the only intelligent life in the universe. We know what isolation feels like. We know what it means to call out into the dark and hear nothing back. He turned to face his crew. Someone is calling. We are going to answer. Whatever else happens, at least they will know someone heard them, someone cared enough to come. The horizon's edge accelerated into the darkness, carrying its crew of humans toward a mystery that had waited 3,000 years for someone foolish enough, or compassionate enough, to respond. The horizon's edge had been traveling for 9 days when the dream started. Taesung woke in his quarters covered in sweat, his heart racing. He had dreamed of dying stars and empty cities, of voices calling out with no one to answer. The emotions had felt so real that even now, awake, he could feel the weight of them pressing on his chest. He checked the time. It was early, but he doubted he would sleep again. He dressed and headed to the bridge. He was not the first one there. Hana sat at her station, eyes red from lack of sleep. Jae-won was there too, running diagnostics on the engine systems even though his shift had not started yet. Bad dreams? Taesung asked. Both of them nodded. I dreamed I was alone, Hana said quietly. Completely alone. Not just in a room, but in the entire universe. Everyone I knew was gone. Everyone who had ever existed was gone. And I was calling out, but there was no one left to hear. Jae-won rubbed his face. I dreamed of cities made of light, beautiful beyond anything I have ever seen. And then they started going dark, one by one, until only darkness remained. Taesung sat in his command chair. The signal is getting stronger. It must be affecting us. It is affecting everyone, Dr. Minji said as she entered the bridge. She looked as tired as the rest of them. I have been checking on the crew. 97% report having unusual dreams in the past 3 nights, all with similar themes: loneliness, loss, desperation, abandonment. Should we turn back? Daehyun asked. He had just arrived for his shift. If this is some kind of attack on our minds, it is not an attack, Minji said. At least I do not think it is. It feels more like we are picking up emotions that are part of the signal itself, like someone is broadcasting not just information but feelings. Hana turned from her station, excitement breaking through her exhaustion. Commander, I have made progress on the translation. You need to see this. She brought up her work on the main screen. Complex waveforms and mathematical patterns filled the display, but among them words had begun to appear. Fragments of language, partial sentences, desperate phrases. Please. Anyone. We are dying. Do not let us fade. Remember us. The bridge went silent. There are millions of these messages, Hana said. Maybe billions. They are layered over each other, broadcasting on top of each other like everyone was trying to speak at once. The signal is not just one message. It is countless messages from countless individuals all crying out together. Taesung felt cold. How long have they been broadcasting? Based on signal degradation and the pattern analysis, I estimate the signal has been active for approximately 3,200 years. But Commander, here is the strangest part. The messages did not all start at the same time. They continued for decades, maybe centuries. People kept adding to the signal, kept calling out even though no one answered. They were hoping someone would hear, Jae-won said softly. Yes. They never gave up hope. They kept calling and calling even as their civilization died. The bridge doors opened. Everyone turned, surprised to see Velthar enter. The insectoid moved slowly, its multiple legs clicking on the deck. You followed us? Taesung stood, hand moving toward the security alert button. Wait, Velthar said. Its translator made the word sound heavy with meaning. I followed to warn you. Not to stop you. The Concordance sent me to stop you, but I could not. Why not? Velthar moved closer to the screen, showing the translated messages. Its eyes reflected the words back at them. Because I am beginning to think you humans might be right, and that terrifies me. Minji stepped forward. You said humans are vulnerable because we hear the signal. What did you mean? Velthar's mandibles clicked in what might have been sadness. Every species in the Concordance has what you might call psychic dampeners, mental filters that evolved over millions of years. The galaxy is full of dangers, and many of those dangers use emotion as a weapon. Species that could not filter out emotional attacks died out. Those that survived learned to protect themselves. By not feeling? Hana asked. By not feeling too much. By being able to ignore distress that does not directly concern us. It is a survival mechanism. When we encounter signals like this one, our dampeners activate automatically. We hear it, we feel a small discomfort, and we turn away. We cannot help ourselves. It is as automatic as breathing. But humans do not have these dampeners, Minji said slowly, understanding. No, you evolved on one world, alone. You never faced the predators and parasites that plague the broader galaxy. You did not need to develop those defenses. So when you hear this signal, you feel its full emotional weight. You hear the desperation. You feel the loneliness. You cannot turn away because nothing in your evolution taught you how. Taesung sat back down. You are saying our empathy is making us vulnerable. Yes, the signal exploits compassion. Your species is walking into a trap because you actually feel it. Every other species knows instinctively to ignore it. If it is a trap, Daehyun said, hand on his weapon. What is the danger? Velthar was quiet for a long moment. I do not know. No one has ever answered the signal before. No one knows what awaits at its source. Then how do you know it is a trap? Because the Concordance has existed for over 100,000 years, Commander. We have learned that messages which trigger strong emotions are dangerous. We have learned that civilizations which fall often leave behind things that should not be found. We have learned that answering distress calls from the dead rarely ends well. Jaewon crossed his arms. So the Concordance just ignores anyone calling for help? That seems like a terrible way to run a civilization. It is a way that has kept us alive for 100,000 years, Velthar said. Humans have been in space for less than 300 years. You have not yet learned the hard lessons we have learned. Maybe we do not want to learn those lessons, Taesung said. Maybe we think some things are more important than safety. Velthar studied him with its alien eyes. That is what frightens me, Commander. I am beginning to think you might be right. And if you are right, then my entire civilization has been wrong for longer than your species has existed. Do you understand what that means? The bridge was silent. It means, Velthar continued, that we have ignored millions of calls for help over the millennia. It means we have let civilizations die that we might have saved. It means we chose safety over compassion so many times that we forgot compassion was even a choice. Minji spoke gently. And now you are here following us because you want to know if we are right. Yes, and because if you are wrong, someone needs to bring back the truth of what happened. Someone needs to warn the rest of humanity before your empathy destroys you all. Taesung stood and walked to Velthar. He was less than half the alien's size, but he met those strange eyes without fear. We are 9 days from the source. You can come with us or leave, but we are not turning back. I know, Velthar said. I have studied humans since your species joined the Concordance. You are stubborn beyond reason. You feel too much. You care too much. You take risks that no sensible species would take. And despite all logic, you have survived. Perhaps there is something in your madness worth understanding. Or perhaps, Hana said, what you call madness is just being human. Velthar made that grinding sound again. Perhaps. We shall see soon enough. The alien turned and left the bridge, leaving the humans to contemplate what awaited them. Taesung looked at his crew. 9 more days. Hana, keep working on that translation. Minji, monitor the crew's mental state. Jaewon, I want the engines ready for anything. Daehyun, security protocols on maximum alert. And you, sir? Daehyun asked. Taesung looked at the screen at the desperate messages scrolling past. I am going to figure out how to tell whoever is calling that after 3,000 years someone finally heard them. The standoff lasted 6 more weeks. The Concordance warships surrounded the human fleet, weapons ready but not firing. The humans continued their rescue operation, working every moment to transfer more Whisperborn consciousness to safety. Every day was a race against the Ark's failing power systems. Every day more people were saved. 300 million, 400 million, 500 million. But the cost showed on every face. Engineers collapsed from exhaustion and were carried to medical bays, only to return to work hours later. Computer systems overloaded and had to be replaced. Ships pushed their reactors beyond safe limits to provide more power, and still the number of unsaved Whisperborn decreased too slowly. 6 billion, 5 billion, 4 billion waiting for rescue that might never come. Taesung had not slept properly in days. He stood on the bridge watching the transfer progress when Ambassador Kyungmin's face appeared on the screen. She looked different, harder, more determined. Commander, I am broadcasting a message to every species in the Concordance. I thought you should hear it first. What kind of message? The truth. Kyungmin's image disappeared, replaced by a recording. Taesung watched as the ambassador stood before what appeared to be the entire Concordance assembly. Thousands of representatives from hundreds of species, all watching her. My name is Ambassador Kyungmin. I represent humanity before this Concordance, and I am here to tell you that we are ashamed. Confused noises rippled through the assembly. We are ashamed, Kyungmin continued, because for 50 years we believed joining the Concordance made us civilized. We believed you were advanced, wise, superior to humanity in every way. We looked up to you. We wanted to be like you. She paused. And then we learned that for 3,000 years you ignored people crying for help. 847 species heard the Whisperborn calling, and every single one of you turned away. You told yourselves it was wisdom. You told yourselves it was safety. You told yourselves that ignoring suffering was the civilized thing to do. Her voice grew stronger. But humanity disagrees. We disagree that turning away from people in need is civilized. We disagree that safety is more important than compassion. We disagree that your way is the only way. And we will continue to disagree, even if it costs us everything. The assembly erupted in chaos. Some species shouted approval. Others demanded her removal. The recording showed Kyungmin standing firm, waiting for silence. You threatened us with exile from the Concordance if we did not abandon the Whisperborn. So, let me be clear. If staying in the Concordance means abandoning people who need help, then we do not want to be part of your Concordance. Humanity will stand alone if necessary, but we will stand with those who cannot stand for themselves. The recording ended. Taesung felt pride surge through his chest. Kyungmin appeared on the live transmission again. The Concordance is in chaos, Commander. Half the species are demanding humanity be expelled immediately, but the other half, young individuals from dozens of civilizations, are speaking up. They are asking why their governments ignored the signal. They are demanding change. The Concordance is fracturing. What does that mean for us? Taesung asked. It means some of them are coming to help. Over the next week, ships from other species began arriving. Not many. Not even a significant fraction of the Concordance, but enough. Young pilots who had defied their governments, scientists who had questioned their civilization's choices, individuals who had heard Kyungmin's speech and decided humanity was right. They brought resources. They brought technology. They brought hands willing to help. The rescue accelerated. 800 million saved. 1 billion. 1.5 billion. Belthar stood beside Taesung on the bridge, watching the progress. You are changing the galaxy, Commander. Not through force, not through technology, through example. We are just trying to save people. That is exactly what I mean. You show us what we forgot, what we chose to forget. And some of us are remembering. Dr. Sung-ho appeared on the channel, his face showing exhaustion and triumph. Commander, we have reached 2 billion saved. But the Ark is failing faster now. We have maybe 1 more week before complete collapse. How many can we save in 1 week? If we push everything to maximum, maybe another billion. maybe a little more. But that is our limit. The rest. Sung Ho's voice broke. The rest we cannot save. Tae Sung felt the weight of that truth. 3 billion people who had waited 3,000 years for rescue would die anyway. 3 billion people who would never get a second chance. Save everyone you can, he said quietly. On the final day, as the Ark's power systems began their final collapse, Thought of Dawn spoke one last time. We saved 3,200,000,000 of us, the poet said. Less than a third of those who waited, less than a third of those who called. But it is more than I ever dreamed possible. When the last ship ignored us 500 years ago, I thought we would die with no one knowing we had existed. I thought our civilization would vanish, as if it had never been. The voice paused, thick with emotion. But you came. You heard us when we were nothing but ghosts screaming into the void. You proved that someone somewhere still cares. You gave us hope when hope should have been impossible. And 3 billion of us will live because you cared enough to answer. What about the others? Hana asked softly. The ones we cannot save? We will remember them, and we will tell their stories to the new worlds we build. We will make sure the galaxy knows they existed. They called for 3,000 years. They never gave up hope. They deserve to be remembered. The Ark's power failed completely at 0347 hours Galactic Standard Time. The signal that had broadcast for over 3 millennia finally went silent, but it was not the end. It was a beginning. The Whisperborn who had been saved woke in new bodies, synthetic forms designed to house their consciousness. They stepped into a galaxy that had changed in the years they had been waiting. They met the humans who had saved them, and many wept. The concordance fractured. Some species remained in the old coalition, clinging to their belief that emotional distance was wisdom, but others left. They joined with humanity and the Whisperborn to form something new. The concordance of open hearts, they called it. A coalition built on compassion instead of safety. It was smaller than the old concordance, weaker in some ways, but it grew steadily as more young individuals from more species joined them. Belthar became an ambassador for the new coalition. When asked why an alien would choose to represent the values humanity championed, the insectoid said simply, "Because they taught me that everything I thought was strength was actually fear, and everything I thought was weakness was actually courage." 1 year after the rescue, a monument was built in orbit around Earth. It was constructed from materials salvaged from the Ark, shaped into a form that resembled a listening ear. Carved into its surface were the names of every Whisperborn who had been saved and everyone who had been lost. At the base of the monument, words were inscribed in every language of the new coalition. They called, we answered. Never again will suffering be met with silence. Tae Sung stood before the monument, older now, tired from the year of work that had followed the rescue. Beside him stood Thought of Dawn in a new body, still getting used to physical existence after 3,000 years as pure consciousness. What you did, Thought of Dawn said, has changed more than just the Whisperborn. You have changed how the galaxy thinks about compassion, about empathy, about the obligation to help. We just did what felt right, Tai Sung said. That is the extraordinary thing about humans. What feels right to you would feel dangerously naive to most species. Your empathy is not tempered by millennia of hard lessons. You care too much. You feel too much. You take risks that no sensible civilization would take. And that is bad? No. Thought of Dawn looked up at the monument, at the billions of names carved there. That is salvation. For us. Maybe for the whole galaxy. You proved that compassion is not weakness. You proved that the civilized thing to do is help, not ignore. You proved that answering when others turn away is not foolishness. It is the most important thing anyone can do. Tai Sung thought about the journey that had brought them here, the signal that every species had ignored, the decision to answer anyway, the impossible rescue that had somehow succeeded, at least partially. Do you think it will last? He asked. This new way of thinking? I do not know. The old concordance is powerful. They call us naive. They say we will learn the hard lessons they learned. They say our compassion will destroy us. And if they are right? Thought of Dawn smiled, the expression still new and strange on synthetic features. Then at least we will be destroyed doing the right thing. That is better than surviving by doing the wrong thing. You taught us that, Taesung. You taught the galaxy that. Far away in the depths of space, other signals called out. Other civilizations in distress, broadcasting their fear and hope into the void. For thousands of years, those signals had been ignored. But now, ships from the Concordance of Open Hearts turned their sensors toward those distant cries. Young crews from a dozen species prepared to answer calls that their governments had ignored. They had learned from humanity's example. They had learned that hearing someone in pain and choosing to help, no matter the cost, was not weakness. The first human ship arrived 3 weeks later. Then another. Then 10 more. Then 100 Taesung stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge and watched the fleet assemble around the dying ark. Ships from Earth, Mars, the Jovian colonies, and every human settlement within 50 light-years. They had come when humanity called. They had come to attempt the impossible. Captain Jiwoo commanded the largest vessel, a colony ship that had been retrofitted with experimental data storage systems. She appeared on the view screen, her face showing exhaustion and determination in equal measure. Commander Taesung, I have to admit, when I received your message, I thought you had lost your mind. 7 billion uploaded consciousness waiting to be rescued? It sounded insane. It is insane, Taesung agreed. Are you here to help anyway? Jiwoo smiled. Every ship captain I know volunteered. We had to turn away hundreds of vessels. Humans apparently have a hard time ignoring people who need help, even if those people are 3,000 years old and made of data. Dr. Sung Ho, the digital consciousness expert who had arrived on Jiwoo's ship, joined the transmission. He looked excited despite the dark circles under his eyes. Commander, I have been reviewing the ARC systems. This technology is centuries ahead of anything we have. They manage to preserve individual consciousness with almost perfect fidelity. If we can stabilize the power systems and transfer the data, we might actually save them. How many? Taesung asked. Sung Ho's expression fell. Maybe 40%. 45 if we are lucky. The rest. The data corruption is too severe. We are 3,000 years too late to save everyone. 40%. Of 7 billion. That was still nearly 3 billion people who would die because humanity had arrived too late. Then we save who we can, Taesung said. Every single person we rescue is someone who called for 3,000 years and finally got an answer. Engineer Jae-won had been working non-stop with the ARC systems. Now he appeared on the command channel, face streaked with oil and exhaustion. Commander, we have a problem. The power drain from transferring the consciousness data is accelerating the ARC's failure. Every time we save someone, we risk killing the others faster. It is like trying to bail water from a sinking ship while the ship keeps springing new leaks. How long until complete failure? At current transfer rates? 6 weeks, maybe 7. Can we speed up the transfer? Not without risk. If we push too hard, we might corrupt the data we are trying to save. We would rescue empty shells instead of people. Taesung closed his eyes. Impossible choices. That was what leadership meant. Choosing between bad options and worse ones. Do your best, Jae-won. Save everyone you can. Yes, sir. Over the following weeks, the rescue operation became the focus of humanity's attention. Every news channel broadcast updates. People on Earth watched as the fleet worked frantically to save an alien civilization that had been dead longer than human recorded history. Thought of Dawn had become the voice of the Whisperborn, as humanity had started calling them. The poet spoke to the human crews daily, describing what it had been like to wait so long for rescue. We felt the ships pass, Thought of Dawn told Hana during one transmission. Thousands of them over the millennia. We knew they heard us. We could detect their sensors scanning the ark. But they always moved on, always. We began to think maybe we had done something wrong. Maybe we had become something that did not deserve rescue. Maybe the universe had decided we should die. You did nothing wrong, Hana said. The other species. They were afraid. Or they had forgotten how to care. Or they had convinced themselves that ignoring suffering was wisdom. And humans are different? Humans are new. We have not yet learned that lesson. Maybe we never will. I hope you never do, Thought of Dawn said. I hope you stay young and foolish forever. The galaxy needs someone who still cares. But not everyone agreed humanity should be there. The Concordance was watching, and they were not pleased. Ambassador Kyungmin appeared on a private channel to Taesung, her face grave. "Commander, the Concordance has sent warships. They are demanding humanity cease operations and withdraw immediately." "On what grounds?" "They claim you are contaminating yourselves with dangerous alien data. They claim the Ark might contain viral information patterns that could corrupt human consciousness. They claim you are risking the safety of the entire galaxy by interfacing with the Whisperborn systems." Taesung felt anger surge through him. They ignored these people for 3,000 years. Now that we are trying to save them, suddenly they care. "They care because you are making them look bad," Kyungmin said quietly. "Every human action is being broadcast across the Concordance. Other species are watching. Young individuals from dozens of civilizations are starting to ask questions. Why did their governments ignore the signal? Could they have helped? Should they have helped? Good. They should be asking those questions. Taesung, the Concordance is threatening military action. If you do not withdraw, they will force you to withdraw. Let them try." A new voice entered the channel. Velthar, the insectoid, had remained with the human fleet, observing everything. "Ambassador Kyungmin is correct, Commander. The Concordance will use force. They have 12 warships approaching. They will arrive in 3 days. Then we have 3 days to save as many people as we can." Velthar made that grinding sound that might have been a laugh. "You humans truly are insane. I have been studying your species for months now. You do not have the strongest ships. You do not have the best technology. You do not have the largest population. But you have something the rest of the galaxy has lost. You have the willingness to care about strangers. You have empathy that cannot be reasoned away, and that makes you terrifying." "Terrifying?" Taesung asked. "Yes. Because if humans are right about this, if compassion truly is strength and not weakness, then the entire Concordance has been wrong for 100,000 years. Every ignored distress call, every abandoned civilization, every time we chose safety over compassion, all of it wrong. That truth threatens everything we have built." Dae-hyun had been listening. "Then maybe it is time for something new to be built." The 3 days passed in a frenzy of activity. Human engineers worked around the clock. More ships arrived, bringing more data storage, more power generators, more resources. The number of saved Whisperborn climbed. 10 million. 50 million. 100 million. But it was not enough. It would never be enough. On the 3rd day, the Concordance warships arrived. They took up positions around the human fleet, weapons powered but not yet firing. A transmission came through. A Concordance admiral appeared on screen. Its species one Taesung did not recognize. Scaled skin, 4 eyes, a voice like water over stone. "Human vessels, you are ordered to cease operations immediately and withdraw from this sector. You are in violation of Concordance law. You are contaminating yourselves with dangerous materials. You will comply or face the consequences." Taesung stood. Behind him, his bridge crew stood as well. Hana, Jaewon, Minji, Daehyun, Bora, Hyunwoo, all of them together. "We will not comply," Taesung said. "We came here to save lives. We will not abandon these people." "They are not people," the admiral said. "They are data. Corrupted data from a dead civilization. They are dangerous. They threaten the stability of the Concordance." "No," a new voice said. Velthar stepped into view on the transmission. "They threaten the lies we have told ourselves. There is a difference." The admiral's eyes widened. "Overseer Velthar? You side with the humans?" "I side with truth. And the truth is this. We heard them, all of us. 847 species heard them calling for help, and we all turned away. We told ourselves it was wisdom. We told ourselves it was safety. But it was cowardice. And these humans, these young, foolish humans, have shown us what we lost when we chose safety over compassion." The admiral was silent for a long moment. Then, "You will be stripped of your rank, Velthar. You will be exiled from the Concordance. I know. I accept it. Some truths are worth the cost." Taesung looked at Velthar with new respect. The alien had given up everything to stand with humanity. "We have saved 200 million so far," Taesung told the admiral. "We will not stop until we have saved every person we can. If you want to stop us, you will have to destroy us. Are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared to kill humans who are trying to save lives? Are you prepared to let the rest of the galaxy watch you do it?" The transmission cut off. The warships remained in position and the rescue continued.